Hello and welcome to the big picture. The question about Muslims, their conditions in India, the expectations from and of them, and the reforms necessary within are all issues which have been in discussion for decades in this country. The Vice President of India, M.M.Ansari, at a speech he delivered while inaugurating the All India Majlis-e-Mushawarat Golden Jubilee celebrations yesterday, has once again drawn attention to many of these issues. In his scholarly address, he has raised the issues both within the community as well as the problems it faces from outside. He has argued in favor of affirmative action for the Muslims, who he points out are not homogeneous in linguistic or socio-economic terms. He has also put the onus on the state to correct some of the problems faced by the community like deprivation, exclusion and discrimination. This speech has already been criticized by a section of people and some organizations, while many have welcomed it. In the context of this speech, we will discuss today the larger issues of the condition of the Muslims, what needs to be done to pull them out and create a level playing field, as well as the onus on the community itself to contribute to this effort. To discuss this, I have with me Ashok Tandon, senior journalist and former media advisor to the former Prime Minister Atal Behari Vajpayee, Vinod Bansal, spokesperson of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Vinod Sharma, political editor Hindustan Times, and on the phone line is M.M.Ansari, former member University Grants Commission, as well as former Information Commissioner, Central Information Commission. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Ansari, I would like to come to you first. You know, as far as affirmative action is concerned, and you know, it is very commonly understood in this country as reservations. And whenever reservations of Muslims are spoken about, there is a huge criticism because, you know, the Constitution doesn't permit religious reservations on the basis of religion. But you think, if you keep that aside for a moment, you think affirmative action is what the Muslim community needs in this country?
Well, I would say yes, because if you say that the Constitution is the main hurdle, we have amended constitutions more than 100 times ever since our independence. Why the Constitution again cannot be amended if it is an obstacle? But I think Constitution is not an obstacle. It requires an administrative and political will to do the needful. For example, there are those Dalit Hindus, Dalit Buddhists and Dalit Sikhs and other communities, but at the same time, those Muslims who are doing and they are also barricaded under the similar economic conditions, they are not given the benefits of positive discrimination. They are not accommodated in educational and employment opportunities. But at the same time, I must say that there are a number of studies like Sachar Committee, Amitabh Kundu Committee reports, which the Vice President has also mentioned about them, and they have pointed out that the larger section of Muslims are closer to the most backward communities in this country, and they require support as other communities are also being given. Unfortunately, most of the schemes that has been designed for the betterment of Muslims, they are not effectively implemented. At the same time, the monetary allocations are not also made, and there are no evaluation and assessment of the progress made so far.
Okay.
I must say that, when we compare, the Muslim community vis-a-vis the other communities, it has to be understood that at the time of partition, more than 7 lakhs Muslims migrated, and the people who were the middle and the upper classes, and those who were left out here in India were largely the poor. At the same time, since independence, we have had so many communal and social disturbances, because of which there has been destabilization, there has been dislocation of people, there has been deprivation, and wherever they are located, the educational and the health facilities are not comparably provided as provided elsewhere.
Mr. Ansari, we'll come to those issues. We'll come to those issues later. Mr. Bansal, your organization has been very critical about what the Vice President has said yesterday. Some of the issues which you people have raised, you said it's a political issue. But these are all, don't you think that the issues which he has raised are issues not just political, it's a larger issue, larger debate which needs to be done?
देखिए, दो बातें हैं। एक तो मेरे से पूर्व के वक्ता अंसारी साहब ने जो कहा, ये कभी मुसलमानों को रिजर्वेशन मिलना चाहिए। द कंट्री, द पॉपुलेशन विच हैज़ द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट पॉपुलेशन, द कम्युनिटी विच हैज़ द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट पॉपुलेशन ऑफ द कंट्री कैनॉट बी सेट के बी दे डिजर्व फॉर द रिजर्वेशन। एक बात। दूसरी बात ये कि जो अंसारी साहब ने कहा, एक
only because of the size you think they don't need reservation?
नहीं, not only size, the constitutional compulsions are also there, and the community which is governing the India since last so many years, more than 500 years they have ruled of the country. और दूसरी बात ये कि भाई उसमें डिप्राइवेशन क्यों, किस तरह का डिप्राइवेशन? आखिरकार मैं कहता हूँ उपराष्ट्रपति महोदय एक बड़ा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल पोजीशन हेल्ड करते हैं और बड़ी संवैधानिक पद की जो मर्यादा है, उस मर्यादा के अनुसार जब उन्होंने ये बातें रखी हैं तो उनको ये भी स्पष्ट करना चाहिए आखिरकार पिछले 65 सालों में कांग्रेस ने और बाकी सरकारों ने उनके साथ क्या क्या ज्यादतियाँ की और क्या क्या उनके साथ कमियाँ रहीं, किन किन कारणों से वो लोग ऐसे डिप्राइव्ड महसूस कर रहे हैं। मतलब मुझे ऐसा लगा कि उपराष्ट्रपति महोदय जब एक किसी पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म पर बोल रहे हैं तो वो उपराष्ट्रपति को शायद भूल गए कि मैं उपराष्ट्रपति हूं और एक मुस्लिम नेता के नाते वो बोलने लग गए। और देखिए, उपराष्ट्रपति की अपनी मर्यादाएं भी होती हैं और अपनी सीमाएं भी, इसके साथ साथ उनके पास पावर्स भी बहुत हैं। उनकी अपनी सरकार है। अगर देखिए अपनी सरकार है और अपनी सरकार को ही अगर वो कटघरे में खुद खड़ा करेंगे तो मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं कुछ गड़बड़ सा लगता है।
I don't know whether he was, I don't think, anywhere if you see he is referring to any particular government. He was talking about, what has happened in these last 6.5 decades or more.
जिस गवर्नमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं, जिस गवर्नमेंट को भी ये कह रहे हैं, वो तो गवर्नमेंट अपनी है, वर्तमान गवर्नमेंट की बात हो रही है। और जब जो एट्रोसिटीज हुई उनकी पुरानी गवर्नमेंट की, जबकि मैं बताऊं आपको आज तक मुसलमानों को देखिए जो दर्जा इस देश के अंदर है दुनिया के किसी कंट्री में नहीं है। आज देखिए, आप दुनिया का कोई एक कंट्री बता दो जहाँ के हज के लिए सब्सिडी दी जाती हो, दुनिया का कोई भी कंट्री बता दो जहाँ पर के इनको इस तरह की फैसिलिटी दी जाती है जो कि कहीं भी नहीं है। इवन पाकिस्तान में फैसिलिटी नहीं है।
हज सब्सिडी बोला और क्या
और बहुत सारी चीजें हैं। मैं आपको एक एक चीजें गिना दूंगा आपको। इनको नौकरियों में आरक्षण है, इनको अलग
नौकरी में कहा
नहीं। देखिए, नहीं सुनिए, नौकरी मैं बताता हूँ आपको। देखिए अभी जो
की बात हो रही है,
नहीं,
there is no reservation in jobs, ना
रिजर्वेशन इन जॉब्स नहीं है। मैं ये एक बात कह रहा हूँ कि इनको हर जगह जो है जो सहूलियतें दी जा रही हैं, तमाम तरह की जो लोन्स दिए जा रहे हैं। आप देखिए, और इनको ये स्पेशल जोन बनाया गया इनके लिए, कभी जबकि देश में
कहाँ बनाया गया?
देश के बहुत सारे ये जो मुस्लिम डोमिनेटेड एरियाज हैं उनके लिए आप देखिए कितनी सारी स्कीम्स गवर्नमेंट ने इंट्रोड्यूस की हैं अल्पसंख्यकों के नाम पर, जबकि अल्पसंख्यक वास्तव में है ही नहीं है। इनको अल्पसंख्यक दर्जा मिलना ही नहीं चाहिए कायदे से।
We are now joined in by Professor Imtiaz Ahmed, a well-known sociologist and a former professor in the JNU. Professor Ahmed, there is this argument that Muslims are in such large numbers. There is this, well-known argument that Muslims are not a minority. They don't need these kind of affirmative actions. Already, a lot has been done to the community, and there is nothing more which needs to be done as far as the government is concerned.
Yeah. Well, I think we must recognize this, that there are various kinds of deprivations which Muslims have suffered over time. And I think in the two speeches that Vice President of India gave, what he was trying to suggest is that while Muslims may have benefited from the market process, they have not benefited from the government scheme so much. So one thing that he has emphasized, and I think rightly so, that a certain amount of responsibility devolves on the state. It's not a question of BJP or Congress, it's the state that one is really talking about.
That's right.
The state has a responsibility towards Muslims in the sense of ensuring that the benefits of the various schemes reach them. That's one point that he made.
Right.
And I think the second point, which is even more significant, is that he said, after all, the community is also responsible, and therefore the community must also reflect upon or introspect what is wrong with them. What is wrong with the fact that they have engaged themselves with identity politics and not address economic and social issues.
Right.
And I think there he has tried to say that institutions or Muslim organizations should really bring about some kind of a change in the outlook and thinking process of the Muslims. I think there is no objection to that. Nobody can say it's not a question of the BJP, it's a question that the state is responsible for certain actions and for ensuring that the benefits of the schemes reach them or that they have a role in the decision making process. This is what the Vice President of India has tried to say.
Okay. Ashok, do you think that, in the context of this speech and also the issues raised, we're talking of the issues which have been raised in that, do you think there are certain valid issues which have been raised which needs to be addressed as Professor Ahmed was pointing out by the state? It is not any particular government which is being spoken about.
Certainly. See, it's very unfortunate that the Honorable Vice President's speech is being seen in political context.
Exactly.
Because, see, the fact remains that there is a politics going on. I was watching some of the television channels. Political parties were commenting on his speech to politicize the issues.
Yes.
I was surprised to see the reaction of a Congress leader who was welcoming this speech in the context of what has not been done in the last 1.5 years. No, forgetting that the Congress which ruled this country for more than 60 years. So rather than saying that he has really raised some valid issues, a couple of other leaders also from opposition parties were trying to portray the entire speech as if he is, issuing some kind of a sermon against the Narendra Modi government, which is not the case.
Which is not the case.
He has really pointed out certain issues.
Right.
See, the development deficit he is referring to has accumulated over the last 68 years.
Absolutely.
And therefore, there is nothing wrong in highlighting such issues.
He speaks about the Sachar committee and then the Kundu committee report. And
And
the
we
kind
should also not forget, as my other speaker has pointed out, that he is also calling upon the community leaders to ponder over this the development deficit, and also some of the, he has used the word, the social problems facing within the society. Right. They should come, and at the end he says that the Indian system must work in the framework of plural, democratic and secular system.
Absolutely.
And the Indian system of democracy, pluralism and secularism could be a role model for other societies.
Exactly.
I think this speech should be seen in the proper perspective, and we all must ponder over it, the issues which he has raised. And I agree that state certainly has a role to play, but at the same time, he has also pointed out the problems which the community is facing from within its own organization.
Vinod?
There's another Vinod there who may not agree with you. You see,
no, in the three issues. One is the context of the affirmative action. Second, the argument of Vinod Bansal that they don't need reservation. They are biggest.
I think the Bansal Saab can go through the speech again, and I request him to go through the speech again. There is nothing at all in the speech. First of all, let me start that the forum he used to deliver this speech, All India Majlis-e-Mushawarat.
Majlis-e-Mushawarat, yeah.
This is the forum which initiates dialogue within the community. अपने भीतर जो विचार व्यक्त किए जाने चाहिए किसी भी समुदाय में, ये वो फोरम है. उस फोरम पे जाके उन्होंने ये सब बातें कही हैं. और and in some जो sum and substance उनका है, उनके जो भाषण का, वो आखिर के पैराग्राफ में, उसको पढ़िए. वो कहते हैं, सुनिए, to sustain and struggle for. So the task before the Mushawarat in the foreseeable future should remain a threefold one. To sustain the struggle for the actualization in full measure of legal and constitutional rights of the Muslims. To do so without being isolated from the wider community. Sir, please listen to me carefully and don't interject.
Vinod,
and to endeavor at the same time to adopt thinking and practices to a fast-changing world. The president, the vice president, who's an ex officio president of this country, so the custodian of the constitution in many ways, may I say that the vice president made 2 points, and which were both very telling. He has first talked about government policies and lack of their effective implementation on the ground. Now, when we are talking about the government, we are talking actually about the state. Governments come and go. The state is the constant in the life of any nation. The state remains.
And he's
talking about the state. Like Professor Imtiaz Ahmed pointed out. He says that these effective implementation of these policies should be ensured. And then he says that the Muslim community should resort to ijtihad, that is, to be open to adaptation, to change and modernity, without diluting its faith, its religion.
Right.
So he is trying to tell the Muslim community that you introspect and be in step with the changing times. Do not do anything by way of expressing your anger, your resentment, or your demand for your rights to get isolated from the wider whole that is India, which is, he is indirectly talking about the Hindu majority without saying Hindu majority.
Exactly.
And he's saying that you do not do anything which begets a reaction from the Hindu society.
Exactly.
So, I think here is a very well crafted speech.
And he also recognizes the balancing which needs to be done to ensure this. विनोद जी, आपका क्या, व्हाट इज योर प्रॉब्लम?
मैं एक बात कहना चाहता हूँ अशोक जी, मुझे बताइए विनोद जी कि ऐसा कौन सा उनके साथ डिप्राइवेशन हो रहा है? इस देश के मुसलमानों को क्या नहीं मिल रहा जो हिंदुओं को मिल रहा है? ऐसा कौन सा कानून है जो उनको मजबूर करता है कि हाँ ये इस काम को आप नहीं करोगे, ये हिंदू ही कर सकता है, मुसलमान नहीं कर सकता? जबकि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में राइट है, बाकायदा धर्म परिवर्तन को रोकने के लिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में प्रोविजन है, और गौ हत्या को रोकने के लिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन प्रोविजन है, लेकिन अभी तक सरकारें कोई इस पर कानून नहीं बना पाई। क्या देश के अंदर किसी रिलीजन के आधार पर विभाजन होना चाहिए? ये विभाजन की एक नींव बेसिकली एक तरह से उपराष्ट्रपति महोदय ने ऐसे कह के रखी है। ये गलत तरीका है बेसिकली। देखिए, मैं एक बात बताऊं आपको, मैं भारत का विभाजन क्यों हुआ था, ये सब चीजें बेसिकली ऐसे ही जब किसी कम्युनिटी को एक तरह से ये प्रोत्साहन मिल रहा है कि वो एक डिवीजन की तरफ जा रही है।
ओके, let me get both Mr. Ansari and Professor Imtiaz Ahmed on this. Mr. Ansari, first to you. You know the points raised by Vinod Bansal.
जी, एक मैं बात कहना चाहूंगा, बंसल साहब को क्लैरिफाई करना चाहूंगा कि वाइस प्रेसिडेंट साहब ने कहीं नहीं कहा कि रिलीजन के आधार पे बेसिस पे रिजर्वेशन देना चाहिए। व्हाट ही हैज एग्जैक्टली सेड इज दैट यू नो द अदर कम्युनिटीज अदर देन मुस्लिम्स हु आर एंजॉयिंग द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ रिजर्वेशन, एंड इफ द मुस्लिम्स, दलित मुस्लिम्स आर आल्सो इक्वली प्लेस्ड as far as the social economic conditions are concerned, they should be considered for reservation on the same lines as other communities.
दलित तो हिंदू होता है, मुसलमान तो दलित होता ही नहीं। ये कहाँ से नया कंसेप्ट आ गया सर?
No. How can you say? I mean, there are washermen, there are you know all
वो तो हिंदुओं में ही था, मुसलमानों में तो कभी नहीं रहा।
एक मिनट, उनको बोलने दीजिए।
Subject matter of discussion. What I'm trying to say is that the vice president has never said that the reservation should be, or positive discrimination should be given on the basis of religion. What he has pleaded is that those who are almost placed in equal social economic conditions, whether they are Hindus or Muslims, they should be treated equally, and there should not be any discrimination on any other ground. This is what he has mentioned. And I think Vinod and my other predecessors, they have correctly interpreted what he has said, that he has said two things. One, that of course the government should implement most of the policies, programs which they have already designed, but unfortunately these are not effectively implemented, to which the vice president has pointed out. And at the same time, he has also said that the community itself should also introspect and accordingly take appropriate measures. You know, and it has been again pointed out again by Professor Imtiaz Ahmed that the Muslims have benefited from the market process insofar as the social economic opportunities are concerned.
Yes,
but as far as the governmental treatments are concerned, you know, it is here that has been pointed out by both Sector Committee and
Mr. Ansari,
Committee,
let me get...
And there are other number of...
Mr. Ansari, have said I think these points have been made. Let me get Professor Ahmed in on this. Professor Ahmed, no, the argument, Professor Ahmed, the argument that there is nothing that the Muslims have been deprived, they are not deprived. What is it that they have been deprived which the Hindus have? You know, this is one of the arguments which we keep hearing all the time.
देखिए, the 2 points I will make in this connection.
Yes.
One is that there is a tendency in all democracies and all societies that minority groups tend to be somewhat disadvantaged because of the attitudes of the larger majority or whatever. So, if there is a situation of the kind where minorities tend to be marginalized, then it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that that marginalization is reduced, if not completely eliminated. That's the first point I would make. दूसरा जो पॉइंट मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि देखिए वाइस प्रेसिडेंट की स्पीच में कहीं रिजर्वेशन के बारे में कोई डायरेक्ट बात नहीं कही गई
नहीं है,
और मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि सारे मुसलमानों को रिजर्वेशन की आवश्यकता भी नहीं है, क्योंकि मुसलमानों के अंदर अंतर्विभाजन या यानी इंटरनल डिफरेंसेस बहुत हैं। लेकिन कुछ ऐसे मुसलमान ग्रुप्स हो सकते हैं जो इस परिस्थिति में है कि ऐतिहासिक कारणों से उनको ऊपर आने का मौका नहीं मिला। उनके लिए रिजर्वेशन की व्यवस्था अगर देश में है तो उसमें उसको भी लागू करना चाहिए। लेकिन मैं ये कहूँगा कि वो प्योरली इकोनॉमिक एंड सोशल बैकवर्डनेस के आधार पे होना चाहिए, वो कम्युनिटी के आधार पे नहीं होना चाहिए।
ओके,
इसी बात एक और कह दूँ साथ में,
वन मोर सर, वन मोर सर,
ज़्यादातर
sir, sorry to intervene, but one more thing, the question about why, the question which Vinod Bansal raises is, he says that there is no discrimination as far as Muslims are concerned. There is nothing that you can show to him that, that they have been discriminated against,
well,
because there are...
First,
yes. Yeah, please continue.
I think the answer to that question is not in my opinion or in his opinion. The answer to that question is really in the data which is available. And I think the data do show certain gaps or certain deprivations prevailing in society. Now,
Right.
It's not a question. There are the discriminations against other communities. One is not questioning that.
Right.
But it is compounded in the case of Muslims because as a minority they are feel more disadvantaged than the others.
And also the question of security.
I think this argument that Muslims have got everything that everybody... Hello?
Yes, please continue.
That Muslims have got everything that everybody else has got, that is not a valid argument. In fact, that argument, if I may say so, has a prejudicial orientation, because it is to use it to deny benefits which I think Muslims should be entitled to, and which they are entitled to under the Constitution of India.
Okay. Ashok, let me get
see, I'm sorry.
the arguments he has made.
No, but
The arguments
I just want to point out to my friend that the Vice President, as Vinod said earlier, was addressing a particular forum.
Right.
So we should not be casting aspersion
It
on
cannot-
the
it
office
should not
of
be
the
taken
Vice
out of
President.
context.
He has not delivered this speech to project himself as a Muslim leader. Please. See, you should realize the background of our learned Vice President. His father was one of those few people to whom Jinnah had written a personal letter to come and service the Pakistan. But his father refused to go to Pakistan, saying that India is my motherland. So let's not cast aspersion on the credibility of the Vice President.
No, बिल्कुल
See, the
करना भी नहीं
issue- no,
चाहिए.
see,
I
issues he has
also
raised
have
are
a strong
genuine.
objection to
एक
it.
minute यार,
See, the issues which he has raised are genuine. We should not try to politicize this issue, because the fact remains that there are certain sections in the society which have been deprived of their rightful place. And I think all the governments in the past have also tried their best. That is why he talks of the development deficit, which has
Absolutely.
remained.
Yes.
So therefore, we need to ponder over the situation in a very healthy manner, not reduce the level of this debate because we are discussing the speech of the Vice President of India, who holds a constitutional position. You must respect that.
Okay. Vinodji, if you want, what is it that you want to say?
देखिए, with the due respect and the great respect to the chair of the Vice President, मैं एक बात कहना चाहता हूँ कि जो मुसलमानों की मुस्लिम तुष्टीकरण की नीति पर पूरा देश जो है ना पिछले 65 सालों तक चला है, और
आप
कोई भी
उसको
सरकार
appeasement
कोई भी सरकार
आप-
मुस्लिम
you
अपीजमेंट के मुस्लिम अपीजमेंट के पीछे नहीं हटी और हमेशा से उनकी नीतियां मुस्लिम सेंटर्ड रही हैं। लेकिन इसके बावजूद भी अगर मुस्लिम डिप्राइव्ड फील करता है तो मुझे लगता है उसके दो ही कारण हैं निगम साहब।
You don't
मदरसों की
agree with
शिक्षा।
you don't agree with their findings of the Sachar committee.
नहीं, मैं
You
बता
don't
रहा हूं,
agree with the findings of the
नहीं, अरे
Kundu
सर,
committee.
सिक्चर कमेटी की फाइंडिंग्स तो सारी सामने आ गई हैं इसकी बात को। लेकिन साथ साथ ये भी देखना चाहिए मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी का आखिरकार इनके डिप्राइवेशन का रीजन क्या है। आखिरकार बैकवर्डनेस, डिप्राइवेशन कुछ नहीं है। They never been deprived of the country. आप देखिए, they are getting the right
you don't think
the Muslim countries, right given in the Muslim countries.
No, you think they have not been
कारण है
deprived?
तो जनसंख्या है और एक दूसरा उनका जो मदरसों की शिक्षा है। अगर मेन स्ट्रीम से जुड़ जाएं तो निश्चित रूप से देश की सभी
Okay, Vinod, quickly.
देखिए, it's very unfortunate that this debate is being carried out by certain elements and certain sections in the manner that we are seeing on certain television channels and also certain points of view that are being expressed here. You see, must understand, he is right. Mr. Bansal is right. Muslims are not a minority in this country. They have to be called the second largest majority in this country. And I would also like to remind my friend Vinod Bansal, with whom I share a name, that, you know, reservation in this country has been from sections within the Hindus. Are we saying scheduled caste and scheduled tribes are not Hindus? Are we saying OBCs are not Hindus? May I say, no, please listen to me. The constitution makers determined a caste as a class and gave the scheduled caste and tribes affirmative action while making the constitution. Over the years, experience taught us that this has to be given to the other backward communities as well. What is only being suggested here is that by virtue of their vocations, their livelihood,
Exactly.
there are sections amongst Muslims who could be categorized as scheduled caste and OBCs. That is what the president has suggested.
The vice president has said that category differentiation.
And I think that anybody taking exception to that is refusing to see the reality on the ground.
Okay.
You see, you go to the minority concentration districts which you are talking about and see the state of affairs here. You
now
would
they
be
are majority.
no,
they are in the majority.
Vinod,
no, you are not understanding.
Vinod, we are not just talking of the reservation issue.
No, we are not. What I am saying is that he has not talked about
as far as the
reservation.
issues which have been raised are much larger apart from reservation.
Besides that,
So anyway, I know I don't think we have more time to discuss this, but the fact is that, you know, something like this needs to, as Mr. Ashok Tandon very rightly pointed out, this needs to be discussed in the context in which it has been said, and hopefully in a more conducive environment instead of politicizing it. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.